Among those of a 10-year lifespan, no account will be taken of mother or aunt, of mother's sister-in-law, of teacher's wife, or of another's, or of one's father's wives, and so on. All will be promiscuous in the world, like goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, dogs and jackals. Among them, fierce enmity will prevail one for another, fierce hatred, fierce anger, and thoughts of killing, mother against child and child against mother, father against child and child against father, brother against brother, brother against sister, just as the hunter feels hatred for the beast he stalks. And for those of a 10-year lifespan, there will come to be a short interval of 7 days, during which they will mistake one another for wild beasts. Sharp swords will appear in their hands, and thinking there is a wild beast, they will take each other's lives with those swords. But there will be some beings who will think, let us not kill or be killed by anyone. Let us make for some grassy thickets, or jungle recesses, or clumps of trees, for rivers hard to ford, or inaccessible mountains, and live on roots and fruits of the forest. And this they will do for 7 days. Then at the end of the 7 days they will emerge from their hiding places and rejoice together of one accord, saying, good beings, I see that you are alive. And then the thought will occur to those beings, it is only because we became addicted to evil ways that we suffered this loss of our kindred. So let us now do good. What good thing can we do? Let us abstain from the taking of life. That will be a good practice. And so they will abstain from the taking of life. And having undertaken this good thing, will practice it. And through having undertaken such wholesome things or states, they will increase in lifespan and beauty. And the children of those whose lifespan was 10 years will live for 20 years. Stop here for a moment. So, when people's lifespan 10 years old, there are certain times when there is a short interval of 7 days when they think that other human beings are wild beasts and they kill each other. This reminds me of some people, they go hunting, they go shooting wild boar very often. Those who go hunting very often, after some time, something will happen. Sometimes when they mistake their friends for the wild boar and they shoot their friend. They honestly see their friend as a wild boar and they shoot and kill their friend. This is because of karma. Because this world is all created by consciousness, so it can change according to the mind. Because the mind creates the world, so if the mind is evil, then these things can happen. So in the same way, these people, for 7 days they kill each other, and then there are some people who get frightened and then run off to hide. And after hiding, they come out from the hiding place, and then they see those their friends are still alive. Then they are very happy, and then they realize that they did not kill, so they are alive. So they keep the precept of not taking life. Then it will occur to those beings, it is through having taken to wholesome practices that we have increased in lifespan and beauty. So let us perform still more wholesome practices. Let us refrain from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from lying speech, from slander, from harsh speech, from idle chatter, from covetousness, from ill will, from wrong views. Let us abstain from 3 things: incest, excessive greed, and deviant practices. Let us respect our mothers and fathers, ascetics and Brahmins, and the head of the clan, and let us persevere in these wholesome actions. Stop here for a moment. So just now we just heard these things that they want to do, actually the 10 wholesome practices. First one, not to kill. Second, not to take what is not given. 3, not to engage in sexual misconduct. Number 4, not to lie. Number 5, not to slander. Number 6, not to use harsh speech. Number 7, refrain from idle chatter. Number 8, from covetousness. Number 9, from ill will. And number 10, from wrong views. And so they will do these things, and on account of this, they will increase in lifespan and in beauty. The children of those whose lifespan is 20 years will live to be 40, Their children will live to be 80, their children to be 160, their children to be 320, their children to be 640. The children of those whose lifespan is 640 years will live for 2,000 years, their children for 4,000, their children for 8,000, their children for 20,000. The children of those whose lifespan is 20,000 years will live to be 40,000, and their children will attain to 80,000 years. Among the people with an 80,000 year lifespan, girls will become marriageable at 500, and such people will know only 3 kinds of disease: greed, fasting, and old age. And in the time of those people, this continent of Jambudvipa, that means referring to the earth or to India, will be powerful and prosperous, and villages, towns and cities will be but a cock's flight one from the next. That means so near, a cock can fly across. This Jambudvipa, like Avicii, will be as thick with people as the jungle is thick with reeds and rushes. At that time, Varanasi of today will be a royal city called Cakkavatti, powerful and prosperous, crowded with people and well supplied. In Jambudvipa, there will be 84,000 cities, headed by Cakkavatti as the royal capital. And in the time of the people with an 80,000 year lifespan, there will arise in the capital city of Cakkavatti a king called Sanka, a wheel-turning monarch, a righteous monarch of the Dhamma, conqueror of the 4 quarters, etc. And in that time of the people with an 80,000 year lifespan, there will arise in the world a blessed Lord, Arahant Sammasambuddha, named Mahathera, endowed with wisdom and conduct, a well-farer, knower of the worlds, incomparable trainer of men to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened and blessed, just as I am now. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is predicting that the next Buddha will appear when people's lifespan is 80,000 years long. In Pali, his name is Mahathera. In Sanskrit, is Maitreya. He will thoroughly know by his own super knowledge and proclaim this universe with its devas and maras and brahmas, its ascetics and brahmins, and this generation with its princes and people, just as I do now. He will teach the Dhamma, lovely in its beginning, lovely in its middle, lovely in its ending, in the spirit and in the letter, and proclaim, just as I do now, the holy life in its fullness and purity. He will be attended by a company of thousands of monks, just as I am attended by a company of hundreds. Then King Sanka will re-erect the palace once built by King Mahapanada, and having lived in it, will give it up and present it to the ascetics and Brahmins, the beggars, wayfarers, the destitute. Then shaving off hair and beard, he will don yellow robes and go forth from the household life into homelessness under the supreme Buddha Mahathera. Having gone forth, he will remain alone in seclusion, ardent, eager and resolute, and before long he will have attained in this very life, by his own super knowledge and resolution, that unequaled goal of the holy life, for the sake of which young men of good family go forth from the household life into homelessness, and will abide therein. Monks, be islands unto yourselves, be a refuge unto yourselves, with no other refuge. Let the Dhamma be your island, let the Dhamma be your refuge, with no other refuge. And how does a monk dwell as an island unto himself? Here, a monk abides contemplating body in body, ardent, clearly aware and mindful, having put aside hankering and fretting for the world. He abides contemplating feelings in feelings, mind in mind, Dhamma in Dhamma, ardent, clearly aware and mindful, having put aside hankering and fretting for the world. Keep to your own preserves, monks, to your ancestral haunts. If you do so, your lifespan will increase, your beauty will increase, your happiness will increase, your wealth will increase, your power will increase. And what is the length of life for a monk? Here a monk develops the basis of psychic power, which is concentration of intention, accompanied by effort of will. And then concentration of energy, concentration of consciousness, concentration and investigation, all accompanied by effort of will. By frequently practicing these 4 bases of psychic power, he can, if he wishes, live for kappa, aeon, or world cycle, or the remaining part of a kappa. That is what I call length of life for a monk. And what is beauty for a monk? Here a monk practices right conduct, is restrained according to the Vinaya, is perfect in behavior and habits, sees danger in the slightest fault, and trains in the rules of training he has undertaken. That is beauty for a monk. And what is happiness for a monk? Here, a monk detached from sense desires enters the first jhana, second, third, fourth jhana. That is happiness for a monk. And what is wealth for a monk? Here a monk, with his heart filled with loving kindness, dwells suffusing one quarter, the second, the third, the fourth. Thus he dwells suffusing the whole world, upwards, downwards, across, everywhere, with a mind filled with loving kindness. Metta, abundant, unbounded, without hate or ill will. Similarly, he dwells suffusing the world with compassion, joy, and equanimity. That is wealth for a monk. And what is power for a monk? Here a monk, by the destruction of the asavas, enters and abides in that corruptionless liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom, which he has attained in this very life by his own super knowledge and realization. That is power for a monk. Monks, I do not consider any power so hard to conquer as the power of Mara. It is just by this building up of wholesome states that this merit increases. Thus the Lord spoke, and the monks were delighted and rejoiced at his words. That's the end of the sutta. So this last part, the Buddha says, I do not consider anything so hard to conquer as the power of Mara. This Mara, I think, does not refer to Mara in heaven, but Mara referring to the Mara inside us, the defilements inside us, greed, hatred, and delusion, and all other states associated with that. So, in this sutta, a lot of it is a worldly Dhamma, but there's some very good advice, like be a lamb unto yourself, be a refuge unto yourself with no other refuge. Take the Dhamma as your lamb, take the Dhamma as your refuge with no other refuge. Always remember this. Depend on your own efforts and depend on the Buddha's words as the guide. The previous sutta that what the Buddha said to Nigroda also extremely good. Buddha said, I teaches the Dhamma. There are Nigroda, unwholesome states that have not been abandoned, tainted, conducive to rebirth, fearful, productive of painful results in the future, associated with birth, aging and dying. It is for the abandonment of these states that I teach the Dhamma. If you practice accordingly, these tainted states will be abandoned, and the states that make for purification will develop and grow, and you will attain to and dwell in this very life by your own insight and realization in the fullness of perfected wisdom. Such good advice from the Buddha. Anything to discuss?
You said that only enlightenment among story unwholesome thoughts fully. I thought that would be the second jhana.
Second jhana is called the state of Aryan silence because the thoughts do not arise. The mind is so concentrated, the thoughts do not arise. But all the unwholesome states, the roots are all still there. They have not pulled out the roots yet. So only the Arahant has pulled out all the roots.
I want to ask a question about that. Just now I have tried and say that on this part of the day, and I want to ask, in some life, the spirit immediately go to judge and go and have to do the last time before we
So the question is whether rebirth, when a person dies, rebirth is immediate or not. Okay. In the Buddha's teachings, there are 5 destinations of rebirth. So it depends whether, it depends on where that person is going for rebirth. In the sutta, the Buddha says that if a person's karma is such that he is going to be reborn as a human being, then he has to wait for the right time to enter the womb of the mother. And what is the right time? Firstly, the mother and father must come together. Secondly, the mother is in the right season. That means the mother is fertile. There's an egg there. And then the thirdly is this being, being also called the Gandhabba, and some books call it the intermediate body, is present, waiting to enter the womb. So a person who is going to be reborn as a human being has to wait. How long is not stated in the suttas. Maybe a few weeks. And then that person, that being will enter the womb and is considered reborn. Since that is the case for human beings, it's probably the case for animal rebirth also, because the person is going to be reborn as an animal, has to go into the womb of an animal also, so he also has to wait. As for the other 3, it should be immediate. There is a sutta where it is mentioned that if a being's karma is so bad that on dying he has to go to hell, then the hell beings will come up and drag him down to hell. So that is immediate. The hell beings are not going to wait for him to take a holiday. So I have met somebody who told me that the father saw these beings waiting for him just a few days before dying, and so that is hell rebirth. And rebirth in the ghost realm should also be immediate. I've heard from some devotee that the relative auntie, 2 days before dying, the Dracula teeth appeared, and immediately after dying, the Dracula teeth disappeared, which means 2 days before her actual death, she already taken the form of a ghost, but still in the human body, and then once once the person died, then the ghost form also disappeared. And then heaven rebirth, there are some people who are reported to have to remember their previous life, and then they said when they were dying, they saw this chariot from heaven come down to bring them up to heaven. So that would also be immediate. So for heaven rebirth is immediate, for ghosts and for hell rebirth, these 3 are immediate. Whereas for human rebirth and animal rebirth, they have to wait. Okay. In the sutta, it's called Gandhabba. That's a different Gandhabba. Same word.
We related that people come to meditation, they want different kind of things, for example, jhana and jnana. It seems that you say that this kind of desire is unwholesome. Is that true? And it's quite, and if we have a desire for getting achievement in the spiritual life, would that fall into unwholesome things?
The desire to attain jhana is not unwholesome. But if the desire is too strong, then the person cannot get. You got to balance it with equanimity, balance it with wisdom. There is the first sutta of the Digha Nikaya. The Buddha said, I forgot his exact words, but he said something, when he strove too hard, he was swirled around, and when he stood still, he sank, and then without striving too hard and without resting, he crossed to the other shore. What he meant was, too much effort is no good. Too much effort defeats the purpose. When he practiced the austerities for the first, for much of the 6 years before enlightenment, he practiced too hard, nearly killed himself. Then only he realized. Then he stopped practicing so hard. But if he didn't practice at all, also it makes no progress. He said he sinks. So you got to practice hard, but the mind must be equanimous. This one I mentioned before. The Buddha says, he's telling the monks to keep to your ancestral horns, referring to the ancestor refers to the sangha, the monks before them. The monks before practice always by paying the attention only to 4 things. These 4 objects of sati, and not to stray out from these 4 objects of sati. If you stray out of these 4 objects of sati, there is Mara's ground. Mara will catch you. Okay. This part also very good. The Buddha said, monks, I do not consider any power so hard to conquer as the power of Mara. It is just by this building up of wholesome states that this merit increases. So, Mara is extremely strong. When you want to practice, you find a lot of obstacles come up. When you don't practice, don't seem like there's any obstacles. The more you want to practice, the more obstacles come up. So it's a test of sincerity. There are some people, they want to renounce, and when they start telling people, or telling their relatives or friends, more obstacles come up. So from my experience, when I wanted to renounce, I kept it very quiet. Never done it. And then it is by the building up of wholesome states that your merit increases. In other words, if you do a lot of build up a lot of wholesome states, like in your even dana, sila, humility, diligence, being helpful to others, having metta, having compassion, helping others in any way you can. Then all these is building up your blessings, so that when you practice, it's much easier to progress. You find, I notice those people who come to the monastery to meditate, those who have a very good heart, they practice easily. They get into concentration easily. Whereas those who have not taken the trouble to build up all these good states, they don't have enough blessings. Their mind is very disturbed. Because in the suttas, the Buddha says a precondition for concentration is a happy mind. If you do a lot of good things to help people and all this, then your mind is always happy. And when your mind is happy, it can easily calm down. If you don't build up all these good states, then you are not happy with yourself. You have remorse. You regret you didn't do this. You regret you did something wrong. You regret you didn't do enough, and all these things. Then your mind is not happy. Your meditation cannot take off. Okay, shall we end here?